we're doing it live. Welcome, everybody, to this week's live stream on Friday, the 9th of November, 2018. We're going to start off the live stream with some breaking news that Prima, the manufacturer of game guides since God knows when, early 90s, early 80s, has been shut down.
Now, so for those of us that are don't qualify for AARP, can you explain what that company is?
Prima is a company that manufactures gaming guides. As I stated, youngin'. So in my childhood, they were absolutely essential for being able to OCD my way through games and get every single secret, every single item, anything you could possibly name up to get the full enjoyment of a game and experience. And now they are no longer, sadly.
So, I remember when I was a kid, I had a Spyro game guide. Was that probably by them?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
They were like the manufacturer of game guides, and the primary reason as to why they are likely no longer around is, well, thanks, Internet.
Yeah, really. I mean, what is it? There's so many sites that you can find, like, walkthroughs and everything on.
Forums especially, man, because you go on to forums, and it's people like, hey, I'm stuck here, what do I do? And people are like, did you consider this? No, we'll do that. All right.
Well, I mean, heck, even YouTube has, like, 12-hour playthroughs of games that are effectively something very similar.
Yeah, you know what, though? Sometimes, like, if you're trying to look for, like, secret items or, like, hidden items, it's a lot harder to explain that in a guide. So YouTube is very useful in that regard. Prima was just great because it was extremely thorough, and the way that they would lay out their guides, like one of the first guides I used the Prima guides for was Zelda Ocarina of Time, and they would lay out the map, and you would see all the icons on the screen, and it would tell you exactly where to find things, and they would have a key for you to be able to follow along. Like, they were one of the first companies to be so thorough in their guides that it made games that were super difficult for young kids especially really easy to play.
Well, I mean, it kind of seems almost like the influence that they had did play into it, and they just kind of like Kodak'd themselves. You know what I mean?
A-Dub said you need some aviators.
Hey, man, you get them. I'll wear them.
Going to the country, gonna build a lot of PCs.
You know how fast you were going tonight, sir?
Yeah, I really hope that gets stuck in your head now, A-Dubs, because you made fun of me last time for getting that stuck in your head. Now I hope it's stuck in your head all weekend. And everything that you do, regardless of what it is. I hope you sing it in your head while you're doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah, you're evil.
And that's for free. So we're going to start off the live stream with some official news that AMD has announced their 7nm CPUs.
Oh!
All right! And it is epic.
Ugh.
No, literally, it's epic.
Dude.
Their CPUs, the 7nm are first going to be released on their epic CPUs. The biggest thing that people are going gaga over is the 64-core density, 128-thread core count. Man, that's nuts. Absolutely nuts. And PCI Express Gen 4. Don't need it yet, but it's there. It's there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see. I wonder now with what NVIDIA's doing with RTX, I wonder if that is going to slot in at all with PCI Gen 4. Like, I wonder if that is going to be something that NVIDIA takes advantage of more than AMD.
Well, you know.
Well, you know there.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised there, guy, because if you remember their fight, well, you don't remember. You're too young, and I apparently qualify for AARP. The 500 series had a couple of models that transitioned from Gen 2 to Gen 3 back in the day. And it made not a substantial difference at all.
Well, I mean, with the tech, not necessarily the cards.
I mean, it's going to follow. It has to. The bandwidth capabilities are always going to be a point of question whether people are going to invest in it or not. And if the demand's there, they'll probably do it sooner than later. We just have to wait and see, really. Another big thing about these new 7nm EPYC CPUs is the fact that they are all sharing and capable of sharing the same memory bus. And they all have access to the same memory. That's huge because typically when you had cores or dies that had their own distribution and path to memory, there was always latency because they'd have to get to that pathway and then make it to the memory, right?
Yeah, it's an extra layer.
Yeah, so the fact that they all have access, that heavily reduces memory latency, so that should be some huge boost in performance overall. And the fact that this is made specifically to compete with Icy Lake,
I mean, and the fact that AMD managed to get both CPU and GPU down to 7nm before Intel could even hit 10.
This is true. And I mean, but this wouldn't be the first time that a manufacturer has put theory into practice, and the practice isn't as good as the theory. So we need to kind of, I'm excited about the fact that they're making huge waves in tech, but I want to wait to see what it actually does for people before I start to get all happy in my pants.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking the new EPYC processors realistically might take like a good 10% of the high-end market away from Intel. I don't think it's going to take away, the majority that they have, but I think this might, at least has the potential to take a little bit of that out of what they're selling.
Sorry, I caught A-Dub's comment and I sang it in my head. PCs come in a van. They were put there by a man in a builder in Twinsburg. I'm done. Anyways, I'm wondering what Intel's going to do in response to these other CPUs, personally. Because as it used to be, Intel set like the standard and AMD followed. And ever since AMD made a huge difference in the way that they were going to approach the CPU market with their servers and their workstation CPUs, Intel's been doing what AMD has been doing for the past decade. So you don't have your work cut out for you, Intel. I hate to say it. You have a lot of work ahead of you if you're going to compete with AMD, and it is not going to be an easy thing to do at this point.
No, but one thing that they are doing is Intel does have a new kind of Threadripper competitor coming out, or a high-end CPU that has 48 cores, which is pretty interesting. It is the biggest that they've ever done. Still gets beat out by AMD in certain areas and certain specs, but it is kind of new ground for Intel. Now, what's interesting about this, though, or what I find interesting about this, is that the architecture that they're using on this is actually pretty similar to how Infinity Fabric works on Threadripper.
Well, imagine that. Again, kind of plays into what I was saying, that Intel is now following AMD and where they're leading CPU tech and die tech.
But something that I found kind of interesting is if you go back about a year, right when Threadripper released, Intel had some stuff to say.
What was that? What did they say?
They kind of blasted AMD about Threadripper. The two high points of what they said are the new Threadrippers are a glued together desktop die, which is kind of interesting considering that Intel's doing that now.
I mean, if they're referring to Infinity Fabric, I guess if you want to consider that a loose term, sure.
It gets worse. The other thing that they blasted AMD for was being an inconsistent supplier.
Wow, is that not the pot calling the kettle black, especially here in Q4 of 2018, where you can't find any Intel CPUs? No. I mean, they just loosened up supply on the 7800 and 7820, so I mean, that's good. But I mean, everybody wants the 9700K. Everybody wants the D&D die case. So, I mean, that's honestly the #1 thing I've heard people get excited about. Not to knock Intel, that these CPUs are great now that they have their 8-core variant for, consumer desktop markets. But you can't get a 9900K to save your life. You can't get a 9600K to save your life. And if you really want one badly, there's always eBay, and then you're paying out the butt. So
it's just kind of
not really doing that right now.
Yeah, that Intel just put their foot in their mouth. But something that's interesting is we're not sure on that 48-core CPU if they're going to have hyper-threading or not.
Oh, they haven't released anything about that.
Right.
They've not made comment. No, I'm asking, like, they haven't, there's nothing?
Not really.
That's not good.
So, but what is, and we'll touch on this a little bit later, Intel's hyper-threading tech has had a couple bugs recently.
Bugs as in security bugs?
Yes. Major security bugs, actually. So
you don't say!
What I think might be going on is I think Intel, especially after seeing the 9700K, I think they may be backing off of hyper-threading a little bit to see how that affects their bottom line.
I mean,
I think they'll still have it, but I think on certain, like the 9700K has no thread or no hyper-threading at all.
I don't have good joy feelings about this subject, to be honest with you, because while I understand your thought process of that they're going to kind of take a step back and see what happens, I feel like it's more of a damage plan than it is anything else. Personally, they could be ahead of themselves in some way, shape, or form to where they feel like we're going to focus and kind of baby step it through and see where it goes. Which is then having these security issues at the same time isn't a good thing. Spectre was an absolute nightmare. They came out and they said that it did not have a performance hit, and then people did side-by-side comparisons before pre-patch and post-patch to see that it did have a performance hit, some bigger in other areas, smaller in others, and it was a catastrophe, to say the least.
Yeah.
They recovered from it, which is good. The company like Intel needs to recover from things like that and quickly, but it was still an issue that set them back to a great deal nonetheless.
Yeah, real quick, A-dubs, 9900K or 2700X. I can't make up my mind if I want the fastest or to save a little money. What are you using it for, and when are you looking to do your build? Because you answer those two questions, that should tell you which chip you'll want to go for.
Right. If we're talking about gaming, I'm going to say 2700X. If you're going to have like an overall workhorse that you will also game with, anything that's going to require a lot of mathematical equation crunching, so That could really be anything work-related, down to editing, down to even some stock trading applications require a lot of CPU horsepower, depending on what you're looking at. Then you're going to want the 9900K. So I always,
or
nowadays,
if you're
I feel
trying
like
to do the build in the next 2 months, go with the 2700X.
Yeah, I usually tell people that if it's an overall general purpose PC for professional use, you're always going to want to go with Intel, unless you have like a huge budget, then Threadripper. The only downside to Threadripper is because of how particular we are about building Threadripper PCs and their long-term usage. The moment that you consider Threadripper, it's at least going to be an additional $200 to $300 on top of the bill, regardless of what else you have in it, due to the kind of case and cooling setup we recommend. Granted, as a consumer, you obviously have the right to choose what you want. Like, we're not going to tie your hands, but...
the Cooler Master just put out the, what is it called, Wraith Ripper? The Air Threadripper cooler.
Yeah, we saw one by Cooler Master earlier this week, and it came mounted with the fan in the wrong orientation.
Yeah.
And there was no feasible or foreseeable way to easily swap that around, because for those of you that don't know, AMD coolers, whether it's Threadripper or Ryzen or even AM3, you have to mount them a certain orientation. They're not like Intel where you can rotate them any which way and it'll mount. You have to have it mounted in a certain way. So if you get an AMD cooler with the fan mounted in the wrong orientation, you're kind of screwed a little bit. I mean, luckily we were able to pull it off and then swap the fan around and then pop it back in. But still, for a consumer that would buy that cooler for their AMD build and then get it and not know better, and then you're blowing air at the intake fans, what? Huh?
But it's an air option that's not a total piece of junk.
Did you say air option or error option? Because I heard error option, and you would not be wrong.
No, all right. A-dubs. Overall workhorse and after the first of the year.
So Intel.
9900K.
Yeah.
Go with the 9900K.
Intel for sure.
Absolutely.
Don't really need TR level, of course. No, you don't.
No.
I mean, if you had the money for it, though, why not? Like, what's it going to hurt? If you have the money, just spend it, dude. Speaking of if you have the money to spend, Seagate is apparently working on a 100 terabyte hard drive to be released by 2520 or 2025.
That'd be impressive.
In 200 years, Seagate's going to have a 100 terabyte. Man, I hope so. Wow. Not really foreseeable for it. It's just not feasible for it to come out now if you look at the dollars per cents to performance and capacity, because in order for you to be able to get that same capacity now spanned out between 10 terabyte drives, that's like a $6,000 investment. So part of it has to do with the fact that Seagate feels that they're not going to be able to push a drive like that to market because the costs are just going to be too high for anybody to consider. Yeah. Not to mention, they're still trying to iron out their Hammer Tech, which Hammer is an acronym for Heat-Assisted Magnetic Recording. And essentially the way that you want to think about Hammer Tech is it's like an optical drive. In a way that a laser reads the disk, there's no physical touch to it, no modification. It's literally just pulling data. The difference here, though, is it's like a burner. It needs to be able to read and write data. The good news is, once this solution has been ironed out by Seagate, it will be unparalleled levels of reliability. Like, I'm talking SSD state reliability. The problem is they can't quite get the tech right, so they're not going to release it, which I'm glad they're doing that. And it's not like, hey, here's this new tech that's
Shout out
reliable.
to the manufacturer that's holding on to the stuff and actually trying to get it right before they release it. Thank you, Seagate.
Right? See, the thing of it is, you don't want to release tech and say it's reliable and then have it be absolute junk.
Especially with drives. Like with, I don't want to say with CPUs, it's not as important because obviously the CPU is super critical, but at least if your CPU craps out, you're not going to potentially lose like all your accounting information, your tax returns, that kind of stuff. So the drives do kind of have a higher standard of reliability that they need to hit, I think, at least.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hard drives, though, they've not really reached that level of reliability as of yet. They have that in some of their enterprise drives, but for some of the enterprise SSDs that are out there, you cannot find a more reliable solution at this time.
What do you think, how do you think this is going to affect? Because Western Digital has been talking over the past couple months that they're trying to release a 20 and 40 terabyte sized HDD within the next, I think, by 2020.
Yeah.
Do you think these are going to actually be competing products, or do you think the fact that this is going to be Hammer Tech is going to take this and it's almost a third class of drive? I
don't think there's going to be any competition whatsoever next to Seagate's Hammer Tech. Anytime I say Hammer Tech now, I keep thinking of Marvel.
Oh, I was
Iron Man.
thinking like Hammer Tech.
Right. I mean, that's another way. I mean, yeah, and I can't touch this. Like, literally, you
Don't
can't.
be jebaited by performance. Servers need reliability.
That's right.
Ruru, completely agree.
And Rudo's absolutely right, and that's always a focus when you have servers. I mean, my home server at home, I dropped any kind of performance orientation and went immediately to scalability and reliability, and I dropped a butt ton of money on it, like tons. And as Sean massages the camera, I'll continue to explain how the Hammer Tech drives will be absolutely no competition, because if Seagate's going to release, or if Western Digital is going to release a 20 terabyte or 40 terabyte drive, but it's still based on spinning platter tech, the reliability factor is not going to be there next to Seagate. I think it sounds like to me Seagate's trying to go for the long haul in this one, and they're willing to be patient.
Good.
Yeah, John, what's up, John? John on Facebook said that 100 terabytes of data not being reliable is not good, and losing 100 terabytes would be bankruptcy. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, if you don't want to put yourself in that position, John, think of it this way. Okay, I'm going to buy this $5,000 drive with 100 terabytes of storage on it. If you don't want to lose your data, and it's not it's kind of an up-in-the-air solution, your only option is RAID. Now your $5,000 went to $10,000 for only $5,000 worth of storage.
And who knows, you might need a separate controller too. Hopefully not. But yeah, when you're getting into that level, yeah, that's getting very, very expensive. But it's new ground.
A separate controller for RAID is always a good thing if you are using RAID in a system that really requires a lot of that CPU horsepower, because anytime you use onboard devices on a motherboard, we all know that requires usage of your CPU. Everything on your motherboard. Doesn't matter what it is. Audio, RAID, front panel devices, back panel devices. It's all tied up in CPU usage. RAID just happens to be a lot heavier in resource requirement than anything else, which is why it is more predominant to see RAID controller cards than people throwing in USB ports. Unless you have an Oculus like me, and you really have no choice if you want a reliable Oculus solution. So there's that.
Yeah, so while we're talking about kind of new tech and things coming in, there's been a little bit more movement on the Chinese tariffs. That
by movement, he really means movement.
Yeah, so essentially... What we're looking at is, with the recent political climate, we're having tariffs put on goods coming in from China and goods manufactured in China. Now, where this matters for us is a lot of the things that are getting hit are video cards, motherboards, things like that we import and use a lot of. Now, what's starting to hit, though, is you're starting to see certain companies are raising prices anywhere from 10 to like 25% just on cost. So that's not even taking into account a profit margin or anything like that.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And that is just component costs. There's no extra value. There's nothing there to really justify that cost except for the tariff itself. So, yeah, if this continues, expect pricing to keep jumping. I hope realistically that this is kind of as bad as it gets, and we realize that this is not what we want to move forward with, but... I think that's a little bit of an optimistic look. I don't think that's going to be how it is. Right.
Well, John has stated that if Hammer Tech is anything like your mustache, Sean, he's excited. See, I told you, you need to keep that mustache. Sean kept this mustache just for the live stream, and I keep trying to convince him that he needs to keep it, because who doesn't want a Tom Selleck lookalike in their office? I do. Personally. 3 men and a little lady, 3 men and a baby. Some good movies. Not really. I haven't seen any of them. I just know that, that's what I associate with Tom Selleck, because for a lot of stupid reasons.
Oh, man, Magnum P.I.
Oh, everybody knows Magnum P.I., though. I tend to think kind of on the more obtuse level of things rather than the more mainstream, and I don't know why, but it is what it is. Now, as far as the tariffs go, everybody knew that these costs were going to be forwarded to us, the consumers, obviously.
Yep.
It's like when... merchant service accounts a couple of years ago announced that merchants were now going to have the capability to pass on merchant fees to their customers legally.
Yep.
Like, miraculously, now we start seeing credit card processing machines in BMVs and license bureaus, because they're like, hey, we don't have to absorb the costs. No surprise there. I knew this was going to happen with the tariffs the moment they were brought up, like way before we knew that our industry was going to be affected, and way before people started considering moving manufacturing out of China. Surprise, right? I'm just hoping it doesn't last forever and they try to figure out a way to get around it. So, see, Kyle Lemmer from Facebook says keep the mustache. Hi, Kyle. What's up, dude?
Giving me like a Captain America vibe. I'll take it.
Captain America? Yeah, I could see that. Because he had a mustache in the third Captain America, right? I'm pretty sure he did. He has a mustache, or is it in the new Avengers?
I don't know if he has just a mustache.
He did. He had just a mustache. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm gonna look it up. Captain America mustache. It's there.
That just looks like a bunch of bad Photoshop, dude.
This is not a bunch of bad Photoshop.
Jeez.
That right there is not. Now you need that haircut. Please get this haircut. I gotta send
it over to Brooke. So
I'm gonna send it over to Brooke so that she can show everybody what I'm talking about. If you get the haircut, like, points to you, bro.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, here, while we're kind of talking about
get it done,
super fun stuff, and we alluded to this a little bit earlier. Intel has another vulnerability related to their hyperthreading. We talked about this a touch, but essentially, if you'll recall, last year, pretty much every CPU had issues with the Spectre and Meltdown glitch.
Anchorman.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then earlier this year, there was something called Foreshadow that hit Intel CPUs. And
which is very ironic, by the way.
Yeah.
Super ironic, because we're like foreshadowing and more problems, yes.
Yeah, essentially what this means is on a super deep level, once you start having a CPU that's hyperthreading, applications that should have no connection between the two of them or no data transfer between, like, I'll use the bad example of like Chrome and Word, just to name two applications. Essentially, you can get data from one to the other when you shouldn't. All right. Wait, hold on.
You gotta look angrier. You just look really awkward at the fact that you're being compared to this photo. Yeah, like somebody said something really nasty about your parents, and you don't appreciate. Perfect. There you go. Now it just looks like you smelled your own feet.
All right.
So port smash.
Yeah.
Let's talk about port smash.
So essentially, what's kind of interesting to me on this is specifically related to OpenBSD, which is a Unix-based operating system that is its main selling point, really its only selling point. It is the most secure. It's
most secure. It's great for the boot process when you're doing dual boot or just a couple of different Linux flavors in the same partition as well. A lot of people use OpenBSD to fix, what they used to use it for fixing master boot record issues in Windows.
Right. So OpenBSD completely disabled hyperthreading support on their OS.
Awesome.
As a reaction to port smash and Foreshadow from earlier this year. So, man, and what I kind of find interesting about this is Spectre and Meltdown hit just about every CPU, ARM, AMD, and Intel.
Right. And if you remember, Intel, people were starting to report that it was only Intel CPUs until testing was done on AMD CPUs. And we're like, man, this is just CPUs across the board.
Right.
That was like Intel saving grace at that point in time.
But Foreshadow and Port Smash are both Intel only. So that's not a good sign, especially I feel like Intel's hyperthreading is a significant portion of their product. Like it was a huge selling point. Segment.
Huge back in the day, man. They were the first to do it. Core 2 Duo and Core 2 Quad, man.
Having very serious security issues, I wonder if this is actually going to affect how Intel competes in the higher end market more so than AMD's offerings. I wonder if Intel having issues with security is going to matter to more consumers on the database, or on the data center market, rather than like the performance or anything. It's the security. I wonder how much that's going to play into it.
It's going to play into a lot because Intel has put themselves in a position to be like the #1 solution provider or powered by Intel situation, right? With enterprise solutions. So people were leaning on Intel to have that security that they could rely on heavily. And if that security is not there, then they really don't have that competitive edge, and it's up in the air, especially with EPYC CPUs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think what they need to do is they need to looking at other forms of encryption rather than hardware. There needs to be a combination of hardware and software. Like, there's one company right now that is doing encryption right, and it's not even like they have nothing to do with the PC industry. It's Nintendo. And Nintendo, in a way to combat piracy, what they did was every single game that is purchased has a special certificate, and that certificate is already pre-registered with Nintendo servers. So when it's played, it matches the certificate. Nintendo knows that's a purchased title, and they move on. And why that's so vital is if you try to pirate anything from Nintendo and they see that there's a game playing online or that's associated with the Nintendo ID that has no matching certificate or is a duplicate certificate, you're banned. And that's how they know. And that's something that Intel needs to kind of consider, I think, and possibly even AMD, to have some sort of like a combination of hardware and software certification, so shit like this can't happen. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and I
it's
think
really disheartening when it does too.
I think
affects a lot of people.
With Spectre Meltdown last year, that kind of came up and then went away. I'm curious to see
kind of swept under the rug.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if these continue that same pattern, or if this is going to be something where the conversation of security on a architectural and hardware level becomes much, much more important. And I think that's what's going to end up happening, but who knows?
I'm assuming people are on Twitch. They're responding to your mustache.
Well, and a guy named Control Ethos. Hey, Chris.
Giving Chris some love.
You're a cool dude.
Lots of love. And then Alien Icon, oh my God, wow. Oh my God, wow. And accurate. I can't read it. Oh, the name is Nikita. Wow. Okay. Time for me to go night-night because I apparently can't read. I mean, that is neon green text, though, to be fair.
I got mine.
That's awful. See, of course. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So we're going to move away from kind of the security talk here because it's frankly getting really depressing having to bring this up like every quarter. One really exciting thing, or could be seen as kind of a bad thing, is that Facebook has decided to reorganize Oculus. So basically what that means for us is that they're going from like a division-based structure, which means you have these guys that are responsible for doing this based on their position, and you have another group of people that are responsible for software development and other people for hardware implementation. They're taking everybody that basically has, well, the knowledge to work on certain projects, and they're putting them together and combining them to kind of drive results for Oculus. Sean, you brought up a really good point yesterday, and you're like, is that a sign that maybe they're not doing so well, or does that just mean that they're trying to focus? So I guess it depends on your perception. My immediate reaction was that I was really excited that they did it, because that kind of tells me that Facebook is telling Oculus and John Carmack, we kind of feel like things could be done a little bit better, and we believe in the tech and we want it to succeed, so this is what we want moving forward. And I really hope that happens, especially considering the Rift 2 headset was supposed to come out in 2019. That's probably not going to happen, but at least now, whatever does come out, we have a little more confidence in it, knowing that they're trying to put the right people in the right places, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of viewed this from the opposite perspective. Oculus a couple months ago, or a couple weeks ago, got rid of kind of a couple of their top-end people, some of their big kind of creative controllers of of their market. So this restructuring, I could see it being like a good thing. Like, we really need to make improvements. We should try and work this out. But at the same time, a company kind of gutting a large portion of itself, like Oculus, or at least a large division, that doesn't excite me. That worries me a little bit. So I think realistically, we're going to have to wait to see what comes out. But
just so you know, Mr. Cassley, Maureen says shave it.
You married a dude that had this same mustache.
And maybe that's why she wants you to shave it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe there are a lot of memories associated with that mustache, Sean, that she doesn't want to see on her baby boy's face. I mean, we already know about the hair metal story. Should we go any further? Pour some sugar on that. So Oculus and Mustache VR Simulator 2019. That needs to happen. But that would require some form of them providing a sensation that you have a mustache on your face. That's a little ahead of its time, but one could only hope and imagine. But I do really hope that Oculus starts to... Really, all Oculus has to do, in my opinion, is to change the way that the sensors work with the headset, and then they're in very good shape. I mean, superior shape to HTC, simply because I prefer the Oculus Touch controllers to the Vive controllers personally. They're a lot more comfortable, they're lighter, and you kind of forget that you're even holding controllers because of that. So if they fix the tracking issues, and they go with a more universal tracking system like HTC did, basically the major difference is that the Vive takes the images from the lighthouses and determines where its position is in the headset, as to where the Oculus projects the image outward from the headset, and the sensors are there to tell the PC this is where the headset is, and that's why they have to be plugged into a PC. So why Oculus decided to do it the other way, I don't know, because it sounds like when you're developing a product, like that can create a lot of problems, if it's dependent on the headset itself. And HTC was like, well, no, you need to make it to where all the lighthouses are doing are just one thing, which worked for their scalability now, because with the Lighthouse 2.0s, you can have 4 covering a 10 by 10 meter area, and it doesn't matter what lighthouses they are. They're not tied to the headset and vice versa.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if with Vive Wave that we talked about a little bit last week, that's HTC has an SDK that they're putting out that allows any headset manufacturer, accessory manufacturer, and it's actually optimized for a couple game engines like Unity and Unreal Engine 4, if I don't forget. I'm curious to see if Oculus is going to take advantage of that, because I could see Oculus, I don't want to say ceding the tracking to HTC, but I could see them focusing mostly on their headset and allowing the Lighthouse to be something that they view as more of a Vive Wave thing.
I mean, really, the first VR manufacturer or developer, whoever you want to call it, that comes out with a sensorless solution that is actually accurate and works, they're going to win. Because could you imagine just being able to like pull up, like set up your PC wherever you want to take it, wherever you are, plug in the headset and like just go? Maybe set the headset down in a couple of ways. Like, all right, we need to map the floor. Set it here. Now put it on your head and wait 10 seconds. Now put it to the left of the room, wait 10 seconds. Put it to the right of the room, wait 10 seconds. And it's like, all right, you're good. And then you just do your thing.
Yeah, I think we're pretty far away from that. But yeah, that will be a big jump.
You don't know. I estimate that something like that's going to happen at least within the next 5 years, depending on the fact that you don't have headset manufacturers that start to become biased and go, no, we really want this tech to last 10 years because we want to make a lot of money out of it as much as we can and then develop the next tech.
Well, that's what I think that HTC Vive Wave software is going to help prevent that a little bit.
I hope so.
Because it opens up a little bit more of a, everybody can be a little bit more on the same page. If you need to develop your game for the Oculus versus the Vive, you can do that with the same tech.
Right.
I think that has some good potential.
It does. And Maruto has a good question. And he's asking if VR headsets are worth it for home theater. I'm going to say no just for the audio aspect in itself. So if you use a headset, if you want to use speakers, you can, but then that kind of takes you out of the experience, because I know some people do like the Netflix app in Oculus and it's, I'm in a theater, woo, and that's cool and all, but at the same time, if you're using the Oculus and you're going to use earbuds or you're going to use the earphones that they come with, which are fantastic, by the way.
See, I actually think the Vive Pro audio strap is better than the Oculus's audio.
I like the strap. The strap is comfortable. What I don't like is the sound quality. I don't know, dude. The Oculus sound quality from the default earphones that they have, it's great. It's great mid-range, great low-end, and just the perfect amount of treble. It feels like the Pro headset. It's really tinny sometimes. There's not a whole lot of bass response, and I am a bass head, to be fair. I love bass. So if I have something that doesn't have a whole lot or it doesn't sound very deep, I get really picky and biased against it. But I feel like just for home theater alone, a traditional setup is never going to be better because you have positional audio with the speakers, and this kind of plays into the point I was going to make, Sean, already with a lot of home theater head units. They have a setup where it's called Odyssey setup, and you plug in a microphone to the head unit and you position it in like 8 different places of where people can sit. And basically what the speakers do is they project pink noise captured by the microphone to be able to determine the position of every speaker, the decibel level they need to be at per speaker, so that all of the speaker's audio is reaching your ears at the exact point in time and you don't have latency problems, and levels everything out. So you're not too bass heavy, you don't have enough bass. If they did something like that with any of the headsets, then it would work. If you just had something that could map it out and then store it to headset memory in some way to where it's like, okay, headset, here's the room scale, don't forget it, you wouldn't need sensors. But then you'd have to rely a lot on different positional kind of tech to be able to map things properly. So that's where I would agree that it's probably going to take a lot more time.
Yeah.
This is wishful thinking to a degree, yes, I know, but I just want to see it done.
Yeah, and we'll see. Realistically, we will see wireless VR in less than a year, I think.
All about that bass. About that bass.
No you trying trouble. To start some treble?
System some treble.
Jeez.
Table. Grab your brush and pull a little table. Let the scars fade away your table.
You wanted to. All right.
So we're going to move on to some AVA news.
All right.
Game screen reminder.
Valve has a pretty good audio system in CSGO to give you spatial sound.
Yes, they do.
Valve's, that's something I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but Valve's sound design is fantastic.
Do you know why a whole lot of people don't talk about it? Because they're using gaming headsets.
No,
and
even
is awful with gaming headsets because you need to use a headset that is developed for spatial sound.
I'm not even saying for spatial sound. I'm just saying monitors. In general.
In general, that is good.
Yeah, they have fantastic sound design.
Their spatial sound could be better if people knew how to use it, as simple as that. So it sounds like it's just an issue of education. If they just educate people on what they need to take advantage of it, they'd probably do it.
Oh, probably.
I mean, the moment that I even caught wind that gaming headsets were a sham in terms of audio quality and just to use like a good set of monitor quality headphones, like studio quality headphones, I did research for like a week, and then I pulled the trigger on studio headphones, and I'll never look back. A, they're super comfortable. B, they're open back, so they don't seal off your connection to the outside world, and you can't hear a tornado happening around you. And C, like the frequency range and response is amazing, dude. It's better than any gaming headset I've ever used. And I bought into the terrible Razer Tiamat 7.1 headsets for like 3 years, and I put them in the closet, and now they're just junk. Like they're literally like in my junk pile.
Yeah, see, I've had good luck with gaming headsets. Like I have the SteelSeries Arctis 7.
I've heard good things about SteelSeries.
They're great.
I've heard great things about SteelSeries, actually.
Obviously, yeah, they're not the greatest audio quality I've ever heard, but it's not like, it doesn't really put me off. I hear good sounding games, and they're comfy.
The games make good sounds.
That's the thing I found with a lot of, and you know, I've only tried 3 or 4 pair, but a lot of the studio headsets I get are just not nearly as comfortable for longer periods of time compared to some of the gaming ones.
You know what? That's true. Typically, a lot of like the cheaper ones too. Like we bought a basic set here for the studio that we use, and it's like the mid-tier version of the one that I have at home. And even though the design is the same, it does feel different on my head. I've noticed. A lot of them tend to use kind of more of a felty material than like the leather that you find in a lot of gaming headsets.
Yep.
I like the felty material because for some reason it doesn't make me sweat. I don't know what it is, but like I put on like the leather cups and like I start to get hot and then like I sweat sitting in my chair. Could just be me. Probably is me. I mean, I'm a freak of nature, wildebeest, so would not be surprised. Speaking of gaming, we are still doing our game streams. We have our whole November lineup set and ready to go. I'm actually going to be on Tuesday with one of our in-house techs, Keegan. We are going to play Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Surprise, right? Never would have guessed. We've all been playing that like constantly.
Great game.
It is a fantastic game. We also have swag and giveaways to do on the game stream as well. Also coming to the live stream, so stay tuned for that. Sponsored by a lot of companies such as Edermax, Gigabyte, Asus, Intel, AMD. So we'll let you know when we have more news in that regard, and you can stay tuned and we'll give you a heads up on what you need to do to participate. But just to give you a heads up, it is likely going to have to do with subscribing to all of our social media channels. Really not a big deal if you want free stuff. All right. Black Friday is coming.
Yes, it is.
We have many wonderful things in the works. Not quite ready to release everything that we're going to be doing, but I can tell you right now, hands down, I've been here for a decade. It is the best sale and promotion we've ever done. Ever. I had a lot to do with it. Sean had a lot to do with it. Everybody really here had a lot to do with it because we put our collective heads together to make something amazing happen. And just, I'm going to call it as it is. Our competitors have nothing on us this season. Nothing. So, prepare yourselves! And the sneak peek is also coming. Just pay attention to our Facebook, our social media channels, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. And our Intel Optane bundle is also still current.
Yes, it is. And we talked a little bit about Intel's 3DX Point last week.
3DX Point!
Optane's interesting. If you're doing, I think the Optane, if you do like a lot of Adobe work.
And you want to have a cheap hard drive with it, you can do it.
Yeah, have a cheap scratch disk.
Or it's on the opposite end, too. If you want super high, like super fast read and write speeds on a PCI Express bus and like an add-in card, an AOC otherwise, excuse me, their Optane SSDs are crazy insane.
Yes,
like,
they are.
Our testing in-house, like we thought stuff was broken. It's not. It's crazy fast. ADub says he has a pair of Logitech G35s completely functional and unused. Why? Do you not want to use them? Have you just not gotten around to using them? Every purchase comes with a free mustache, according to Kyle. Kyle, are you going to sponsor that? Are you going to produce the mustaches, or are you expecting Sean to have babies with his mustache? Baby stashes. Babe stashes. Cousin It. Oh, we missed it for Halloween. Man. Wah, wah, wah.
I'll attach mustaches to every PC. I mean, proof of concept right there.
I mean, you could do that. I mean, you do train like dogs for a living. Could you get us a bunch of like dog hair from like trimming and shaving and everything, and then we'll make like Cassley stashes out of them? We'll call it the Cass Stash.
Cass Stash. I feel like that's just asking for like fleas.
I mean, well, no, they typically shampoo the dogs before they shave them and stuff, right, Kyle? That's what they do.
I mean, I don't know.
You don't look thrilled about having a product endorsed after your mustache. One would be typically pretty excited about this opportunity, and you look like there could only be one Highlander.
You look like Sean Swanson.
Sean Swanson.
Yeah.
That's got a ring to it. If you ever decide to
does.
go in show business, you have to change your name to Sean Swanson, though.
With the accent, like
SHWN.
Sean.
That's why SHWN. So you pronounce it not like Sean, but Sean.
Sean.
Yeah, Sean
Yeah.
Swanson. And you got to have like the mouth movement too. Sean Swanson.
They sound like doo-doo. Well, I mean, hey, that's a good reason. It's a good reason not to use them.
Sean has fleas. I mean,
Oh, bro.
it was actually Casey that said that.
I stand by my statement, bro.
Bruh. I mean, WCCF Tech has reported on that rumor. Oh, interesting.
Which rumor? Ruru, what are you referring to?
Yeah, we've talked about like 4
We've talked about like
rumors.
6 rumors. You talking about the VR headset one?
I think so, yeah.
The fleece guy. Come on, man.
You just
Come on.
You just got trolled. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna shave you down. It's perfect. Man,
All right,
somebody's got to send Marudo some free stuff for that troll. That was just epic.
Yeah, Ruru, send us your like.
Contact information. Send
Yeah.
us your shipping address.
Send us
We're just going to
something.
send you something. A shirt. I don't even care at this point, but you deserve something. Even Casey said, the fleas. Well, I mean, we could like make miniature fleas in the dog hair mustaches we're going to make. I train them, not shave them. Well, clearly you have to know somebody that shaves these dogs, right?
Yeah, I mean, like
Once you're a dog trainer, I would assume you're in like kind of like the close-knit like professional dog
the
taking
underground
care of
dog
community.
trading world.
Yeah, exactly. No, not trading.
With this stuff.
It's not like
yeah.
Michael Phelps. I mean, come on.
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick.
That
is
was the
it?
reference you were trying to make. Michael Phelps is the stoner swimmer.
Smoke pot and dog ring, bro. Wow. But seriously, this is something.
Seriously, yeah. Let's get real
seriously,
serious.
guys. Seriously, this is something that needs to happen. An AVA shirt with a stuffed animal flea. Are there stuffed animal fleas?
There was a
They exist? Okay.
probably.
Good. This is good stuff. So we're gonna try that.
Yeah. So
Seems fairly feasible, right?
moving on. That's really all we have for AVA news, but we do have a little bit.
No,
more
we're
to
going to
talk
move
about.
on. We're still talking about the mustache, Sean. We're not done with the mustache. Clearly, everybody has a desire to discuss the mustache. Ew. Never mind. Squashed.
I know. Jeez, breaking my heart, man.
So you have more news about Fallout 76.
Man, I want it to be good.
Everybody
I really
wants it to be
want
good.
It to be good.
Get good, but instead you're getting wrecked, mate.
Yeah. So frame rate's locked at 63 FPS, which is on one side of the fence. If your frame rate is going to be tied to the game physics, good. It should be capped, or everybody should be running the same. But by that same token, why the hell are you developing your game like that? It's 2018. A lot of people are playing at 120, 144 hertz, and you're locking it to 63, which is just a weird number.
Why the hell are you developing your game like that?
What's the point?
And I feel like that's a statement that can be made in at least 4 or 5 different contexts.
Fallout 76, it's a game. Yeah, that's looking like
Not-
the best that we can say right now.
Not it's in the game. It's a game. That should have been their marketing slogan. Fallout 76. It's a game.
So just as
Play it.
as kind of a way to see how rough the beta has been so far, it is a less than 50 gig game install file, 47 gigs.
It's a hot flaming garbage mess is what it is.
Now, and Bethesda has come out and said that the beta is pretty much the same as the game itself, so that's kind of why we're talking about it. It had a 30 gig patch. It is a 47 gig install file.
Now hold on. I need to clarify. Is it a 30 gig patch additional to the 47, or it literally overwrit 30 gigabytes worth of existing 47 gigabyte files?
You shouldn't have a 30 gig patch in either case that close to release.
I've
is my
seen games literally have like 25 gig patches, and that is a stuffed flea. That is a big, fuzzy, stuffed flea. Wow. Are you going to display that? Are we going to put that and show the folks what they get with their AVADirect t-shirt in regards to Sean's mustache, the castache? Some people call it. Some people have that saying, the cash grab. We just have the castache. And what we should do is it should be a double entendre. So it is a bunch of items promoting your mustache, and it is a stash of goodies. So the castache. Get it? I feel like we're onto something here. Like we can make a living off of this merchandise. You're just going to be our mascot from now on. You just have to show up with your mustache.
All right, I can do that.
Look
I can
excited.
do that.
You got to look excited.
Yeah.
Be really excited that you're there, right? put emphasis on your mustache. So put like a lot of like beard products, make it flow and glisten, right?
Can
their game engine handle ray tracing?
Yeah, their game can't handle.
I hope not.
But jeez,
man, I really hope not. What's going on, homeschool mama?
Hi, Chris's mom.
Hi, mama. How are you?
All right, now let's.
It just works, Wesley. We know. We know.
All right, let's. While we're just in this wonderful talk of games that
are pissing people off, does that mean we're going to talk about Diablo Immortal?
The game that nobody asked for.
It's not even a game. It's something to pass the time while you poop. We all know this. Blizzard's not saying it.
And what was it? Fallout Shelter. They did that right. And then Fallout 76. Do you think this means that maybe Diablo 4 is going to be good because they just dropped the freaking ball?
Fallout 76 equals Fallout 4 with multiplayer, different maps, and story, like some new items. Meh. We know.
Yeah.
All right. You're beating a dead horse, Travis. Stop it. And yeah, Diablo Immortal, which was funny because I Googled like more information on Diablo Immortal back in the day and ended up coming up with the Diablo for the Nintendo Switch, which has apparently been doing like very well.
I mean, Diablo 3 on console was a shockingly playable game.
No, this is almost like Game of the Year edition for Diablo on the Switch. It's like what an Eternal Collection.
Yeah.
It actually has been doing very well. It was released on November the 2nd. And people think it's amazing. 6 years of Diablo to Nintendo Switch. So, I mean, that's awesome. So, that was Blizzard on the correct path to success. Yeah, and now this is Blizzard on the correct path to the toilet, which is ironic because, again, this is a game you play on the toilet.
So for anybody that doesn't know, essentially what happened with this is Blizzard came out and said, hey, we have big Diablo news. We're excited about this. It's
hype.
And then they came out and released a mobile game instead of Diablo 4 or anything that anybody gave a crap about at all. So honestly, if you have a second, go ahead and watch that section of the press release because it is hilarious.
The best part was
how badly it went over in that room.
Best part was the dude that steps up to the mic and he was like, not to be rude, but is this an out of season April Fool's joke? And like you hear the crowd like, oh, and they're like, sadly, it is not. And then you hear the crowd,
poor guy up on stage just dying, just
his fake smile, his fake like, oh God, I need to put this fire out immediately. How can I do this? Like, no, dude, it's spreading. Like there's no stop, no amount of water or fire extinguishers is going to put this out. You have just flamed yourself.
With that being said, though, one thing that we have kind of heard now is apparently Blizzard was originally planning on releasing something in Diablo 4, and it just at the 11th hour they cut it. We don't know why.
Why?
We don't know.
Well, here's what's funny about
that, which honestly worries me a little bit more. If it like what you had was bad that you pulled it like right before the press release, then how
well, dude, you gotta
far
think,
are you?
You have to think about this. So think about this long term. Blizzard comes out with World of Warcraft, right? World of Warcraft is a huge hit. It is an IP that they can carry until the end of time because they really don't have to create new content for it. There's always going to be people playing it, and it's on a renewable subscription. Then they come out with Overwatch. Not a renewable subscription, but again, a game that really all they have to do is add to. They don't have to reinvent the bicycle. They just keep doing it, and it's a huge success. So now they have 2 games under their belt where really they don't need to develop any more games for a long time. So there's no motivation there. So they come out with a mobile game. And the greatest thing about that, in my opinion, Sean, is that they thought, to me it is implied that they thought the biggest problem was that people thought that they could not pull off a good mobile game. Hence, they came out stating, we are putting all of our head developers and programmers into our mobile IP. That's not the problem. Like, you could probably make a good mobile game, Blizzard, but nobody wanted a mobile game.
Yeah, like...
Nobody!
What's the point? I could see maybe if they had it on the Switch, that was the thing. Maybe, but just the mobile game... Clash of Clans is out there, man. Like, who are you trying to compete with?
Candy Crush? Got that game that's like, what is this? That's endorsed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like, oh, the generals and helicopters, they come and get to the chopper. Mobile game now. They derped. Blizzard just derped, and I just want to go back to the 90s when there was StarCraft and Warcraft.
Well,
and Diablo.
The good news is... Blizzard is doing something that at least is kind of exciting, and that is that they are releasing a Warcraft 3 remaster.
And we're going to show it to you right now.
Yes.
too late. This entire city must be purged.
Okay,
Alrighty.
so before you knock the graphics, just know that it's a playback. They're rebooting something that like ground lifted what we have today as far as World of Warcraft goes. And
far more than that. So Warcraft 3 was the beginning of MOBAs. So League of Legends.
what does MOBA stand for?
Massive Online Battle Arena, or Multiplayer Online Battle Arena.
At least you didn't say multiplayer online arena battle, Moab.
Yeah, it's close. But so you have the original Dota was a mod that got purchased essentially by Valve, who developed Dota 2, and before that happened, League of Legends developed League and all the other MOBAs that you have out there now. So what we could be seeing here. All right.
Rudo, is this going to be tied to the physics too by frame rate?
I mean, it might.
Man, so you are really jaded, aren't you, Rudo?
I dig it. I appreciate it.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm curious to see. I'm not even that excited to see like the single player campaign. I'm curious to see what we're going to see people do with this, because this feels almost like kind of a sandboxy kind of game in terms of like not necessarily like Minecraft. I'm thinking more like Gary's Mod. I'm curious to see what people are going to do with this product that Blizzard's putting out again.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the first Warcraft had some amazing mods, and I hope this comes back.
Zach's got a good point, or otherwise known as Soulfall, and that it doesn't matter how many people hate the fact that they're coming out with a mobile game. There's thousands of people that will spend money on microtransactions for this game. And yes, I know, we all have phones. Am I going to try it? Yes, I probably will. But that doesn't mean that it's you build somebody's hopes just to knock them down and go, well, look at the bright side, we have gameplay in mobile. That's not the point, man. It's Blizzard. When have they ever done anything like this? People did the same thing with Bethesda when they came out with Fallout Shelter. They were like, Yeah,
but they did Fallout Shelter right. They announced Fallout 4 and then just dropped Fallout Shelter and it was done, and here you go. And that was the hype for Fallout 4. They did it perfectly.
Right. Yeah, they were like, hey, and in the meantime, you can play this.
And it's available right now.
Yeah, and that was good. The fact that it was available, like download it today, people were like, what, huh? Because they hid like all keyword searches for it, and then boom, there it was.
It was fantastic.
Smart thing to do. The thing that I want updated is the play screen needs to be way bigger. I want there to be more of the Battlefield. Yeah, that would be nice, especially with a lot of people having multi-monitor setups now, and it's more common to be able to split that to a second monitor, right? And then you have your play screen on the other. That would be really good.
Yeah.
I would not complain at all. In fact, I would enjoy it very much.
And another old stuff that now is back in the news.
Old stuff. And by old, he means DayZ.
DayZ is now in beta.
Hooray! What?
Yeah.
Beta?
Yeah, it's in beta.
What do you mean it's now in beta?
It
hasn't been in beta?
A year and a half after anybody really cared about it.
What?
Now it's in beta.
What's that rigging? Do I have a tuber?
It's not a tumor.
Yeah, it's DayZ.
Yeah.
It's freaking DayZ. The game that I legitimately fell asleep while playing while waiting at a gas station for my brother to show up on map. Like, I woke up at 4 in the morning in my chair with DayZ running, and I'm getting attacked by a zombie, and that's how I woke up. And I'm like, Chris? Hello? Chris? Hello? And realized it was like 3 hours after we started playing. And I'm like, oh. And he texted me. He's like, sorry, dude. Like, I heard you sleeping into your mic. I gotta go. Like, I uninstalled that game that night. I'm like, I clearly don't enjoy this game that much. I'm going to go ahead and remove it.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. I feel like DayZ was, in the same way that I think we're going to see with PUBG, and that it was an important step for that genre of game. It wasn't the winner. It was just kind of a middle step.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see the same thing. Is PUBG still in early access? No, I think they did a full release. But
it's official release now. 1.0.
Sometimes it feels like it.
1.0. And it certainly does feel like it. It feels like they took a step backwards in some areas and a step forward in others. Like, we're going to release all these scopes. Okay, sweet. And then they started nerfing the hell out of guns. And I'm like, what? Like SKS. We're going to release another gun that's like the SKS, and it's an in-between. Okay, but it's like a quarter of the damage. What? But the SKSs are... But it has... But why would you...
It just feels like they screwed with a bunch of stuff that they could have left alone.
I mean, I respect the fact, though, that they're very particular about the guns that they add and their stats.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was the one thing when I started playing Black Ops and we played Blackout. That was the first thing you said to me. Like, by the way, you're going to find so many guns and you're just not even going to know what's the difference. Just don't focus on it. I'm like, but I want to learn the differences. There's no stats. There's nothing. It's just this one's an automatic rifle and it has a lot of recoil. I'm like, okay. And no, that's it. It's just got a lot of recoil and it's semi-automatic. Okay, cool. Thanks, Activision. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Ruru, Fortnite is still in early access and the mobile version is beta. Yet Fortnite, I don't know. I'm curious to see how the mobile of that goes over.
I mean, I guess I don't buy enough loot boxes, but no, I'm not going to buy loot boxes. I don't do that crap. It's stupid.
Yeah, and the other thing I will point out is there are certain microtransactions that I actually think are done okay. They're done well. And the majority of them, though, are a nightmare.
I'll agree with you.
But some are done right.
Before PUBG released the keys, and
I mean, PUBG is not one of the ones that does it right, in my opinion.
Before they released the keys, and you could just buy BP to open chests, that was fine.
Yeah.
I was willing to do that. But then when you throw money on top of money required to open a chest, that's just stupid. I'm not going to pay $2 to get the same shirt that I already have, like unknowingly. We talked about this a couple of streams ago. When you have to pay money, not really knowing the kind of stuff that you're going to get to an extent. Like I know if you're going to pay money to get like a super rare item, like I know this item's super rare, it's okay. When you're paying money to something, whether it's going to be the same item or not, like that's an instant cash grab and it's obvious. Yeah. And I hate you for it. You bought 2 Pink Mercy skins. I mean,
man, we'll have to get you hooked up with Wes.
Yeah. Yeah, you should jump on a live stream with us, Rudo, and play Overwatch with Wes and his companion. I say Wes and his companion because if you're playing with Wes, you're playing Overwatch.
Yep.
Like you have no choice.
Yeah, you have no choice. It's Overwatch.
It is gambling. You're absolutely right, Chris. It's 100% gambling.
Yeah, it is. And who was it? Was it either the Danish or Denmark? I forget which.
Poland, I thought. They made it illegal.
Poland? Yeah,
I thought it was illegal.
Loot boxes are illegal unless...
Because it's gambling.
Yeah, and they have it set to, before you even purchase it, you see what specific item you're getting. So like in a microtransaction where you have like, you get one of these 10, it's either Poland or it's a European country. Forgive me for forgetting.
No, it's a European country.
They will show you exactly what it is before you purchase it, and that's actually by law now, which is... I'm curious to see if that's going to be something that we see become a little bit more prevalent, especially because I feel like a lot of these microtransactions, kids are the ones.
It would make absolute sense.
Yeah, like a lot of
Why
kids.
would I want, like if I want to gamble, I'll go gamble. If I want to play a video game, like, isn't the whole point for you to enjoy your experience? And that's why you have people like Zach and I that just get so pissed off with microtransactions because they take focus away from it. You're there to have a good time, not to try to slipstream your way into a profit without feeling like you're taking them a fool. Because after a while, people are going to get wiser and they're going to be like, no, dude, run up your butt. Yeah. But to kind of go back to DayZ a little bit, the one thing that I'm curious to see is if that's going to enable DayZ to be more of like a fun, entertaining experience to watch because they actually balanced a lot of stuff out.
See, I feel like DayZ,
a lot of stuff
is just trying to get to the point where it's 7 Days to Die.
It's actually on the contrary because DayZ was around before 7 Days to Die.
No, yeah, whichever one was first. But I'm saying in terms of like playability and fun.
Playability and fun, yeah. So basically what they did was the tweaks they made tweaks to the infected status, the animation, and food weight. All things within the player's character. 30+ fixes that were known problems to the game's environment and gameplay, and a lot of changes to the buildings, AI navigations, and just item names. So minor stuff. But I'm curious to see if maybe this is going to give DayZ a fighting chance against Scum, which I don't know if you've watched any gameplay in Scum.
I've not.
Though I thought it was just a more drawn-out, extended version of PUBG that could literally last weeks on end in session, because it's like DayZ in the sense to where you get to a safe place, you log off, you log back in, you pick up where you left off. But it is like, the whole point of it, as it was explained to me, is you're basically a prisoner that gets dropped on this island, and this island is on a game show. So it's kind of like the Hunger Games. Okay. Right? Yeah. There's robots, and then there are zombies, which are known as the reanimated. It's basically like reanimated prisoners that failed to survive. Okay. And you're just there to survive. I don't know a whole lot about Scum. I didn't look into it.
It sounds like that really, really great Jason Statham film.
Oh,
Death Race.
Yeah, Death Race. There you go. Which, I mean, they need to come out with something like that. That would be pretty cool. Like Death Rally could have been a good component to that.
Wasn't that Twisted Metal?
I don't really think Death Race with Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal was like an arena. It wasn't like a racetrack.
Yeah, it was more of a destruction derby.
Yeah, it wasn't a racetrack. Death Rally is a lot like Death Race, which...
I don't know if I ever played Death Rally.
Death Rally is an old school over the top racing game from like early 90s. It's the same thing.
With the bike and you have to hit somebody with a pipe next to you.
Road Rash.
That's it.
Road Rash. What's the game with the motorcycle and the music and the opening song in it is friggin' Break My Cage by Soundgarden. That's what I remembered Road Rash from. Just, I'm gonna break my rusty cage. Because it came out on PC first. My brother and I played the hell out of that game back in the day. But anyways, Scum would be interesting to do co-op if it was like that. And I got invited to play that with somebody who streams, and I haven't had the time. I want to though, because if you watch it, like the next time you see somebody streaming Scum, watch it, and it is really interesting. The elements in it, it's super realistic in terms of the requirements that you have to stay alive. You got to eat, you got to sleep, you got to drink. At one point, the dude that I was watching pulled out a guitar and started playing Stairway to Heaven, and you could hear all the reanimated around him, like, gravitating to him.
Okay.
He ran out of bullets at one point, and he was just running from this machine that was, like, target acquired, and, like, shooting him down, and he had no ammo, no way to defend himself, so it was really just him running.
There is Road Redemption now?
Road Redemption?
What is Road Redemption?
Yeah. That's on Steam. I bought that. Joe's right. Road Redemption is basically like a
Mario
reboot of Road
Kart.
Rash.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're fine. There's Mario Kart.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. But yeah, Road Redemption, that would be something that I'd love to stream with somebody if they wanted to play it. Road Redemption looks super fun. I just haven't had anybody to play it with. But I'm going to go ahead and stop talking because it is the end of the road. End of the road for us. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys. We'll be back on next week, same time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to report more interesting news or to talk about Sean's next choice of facial hair.
Have a good one, guys.
Later.